Hi everyone, I'm Kerrigan. Yes, I'm holding my Ironman glass, mainly because I want you all to become Ironman triathletes. No, I'm only kidding. Ironman is probably the last thing on your mind right now. It's February. It's February 1st, as a matter of fact. And I'm here in New Jersey, in my apartment, and I've taken this time to introduce myself and also to introduce you to something I'm starting on YouTube called Endurance Academy. That's not really a fancy name, but it's a simple name that is going to dedicate its content to providing you tips and understanding of triathlon, or endurance for that matter. Now, my background is primarily endurance triathlons. Now, I did have a background that started off in swimming and water polo, and then it eventually branched out to short course triathlon. Although I did do an Ironman when I was 19 years old. I don't know if you're ever, for all those old timers out there, the Bud Light Endurance Triathlon was held in, I think, Hyannis, Massachusetts in 1988, so I'm dating myself here. And that was probably a little bit too soon for me, but it was my dream, and I watched the Ironman and Dave Scott win on TV, and I was real excited. So, I had some training behind me and some talent as a swimmer, and I stacked on probably too much volume too soon. But nonetheless, I was in the front of the pack. I thought I had a chance at winning it, but what ended up happening was I staggered to the finish line. I was on an IV, and my mother was scared that I was going to die, and I thought it was exciting, but she didn't. But the important thing is, that's how my career started off, and then it bridged to road cycling. I spent a couple of years in Europe bike racing, and I had the dream, the Greg LeMond dream. And Lance Armstrong was a young winner of the World Championship, I think in early 90s, 91 or 92. And, I thought I could become a professional cyclist, but I got to the point where I think I ran my talent, financial limitations kind of came to my reality. The teams that I was on weren't that strong. And ultimately, to break into the super world-class level, you had to do things that you didn't really want to do, and I think you know what I'm talking about. So I made the choice to go back to running and realize my potential as a runner. And I achieved some great numbers. I dropped my 10K to 32:30 and went on to running a 2:34 marathon. Then that kind of reignited my passion for endurance racing in multisport. And probably my natural talent is cycling. And then what I ended up doing was moving to New York, and coincidentally just getting into, ironically, getting into the sport of Ironman, sort of at an advanced age at 30 years old. So I had a short amateur career, and then I turned pro, and it just it evolved from there. My understanding for training mixed with my education, my experience, constantly seeking out the best in the field. Jan Olbrich was a great mentor of mine. He's a guy that trained Luke Van Laerder to his world record. He's a great physiologist. He wrote a book called The Science of Winning. And not to mention, the other sports scientists that had played an integral part in my understanding. Tudor Bompa was one of them, and Dr. Max Testa out at UC Davis, and then the professional Ironman winners like Dave Scott, Mark Allen, consulted with them, Mike McCormick, and a good friend of mine, Scott Molina, who won the Ironman World Championships in 1988. And then that segued to the newer era within the last 5 years, meeting Dr. Phil Skiba, who runs FizFarm Training, and his training system is a software system that measures training by training stress. And this is what this whole thing is about. This Triathlon Academy is about taking what I've learned as an athlete, taking the science that I've learned, and taking the coaching results, the successful results in training amateurs to world championship level, and one professional, I helped win a world title and break a world record in 2008, and she won several 70.3 championships races, And I've got some other conditioning and training background in other professional sports, in combat sports and ball sports. So, quite honestly, this is my thing. I do coaching, I train people, and I work on the critical elements of performance. So this Triathlon Academy is designed to introduce you to the way I think, my programs and how I do this business. It's more unique than you might see on the internet. You see a lot of template programs, you read magazines, and they offer you this sort of organized framework to how you design a triathlon season or how to do a workout. But I'm going to get a little deeper than that into the real nuts and bolts of how to become a successful endurance athlete. And what I mean by successful is reaching your potential. That doesn't mean breaking world records, although there may be people out there looking to break records and reach championship level. But I'm more interested in helping the common person, the common athlete, know what it takes to have a great triathlon or endurance lifestyle and still be able to tackle all the other parts of life, balance it out, and be able to work out without hurting themselves and making sure that you're progressing in some way. So let's start with lesson 1. So can you see this? Endurance Academy. So camera woman? Mm-hmm. Yeah? Okay. So Endurance Academy, the first lesson is the 10 critical errors. Now this is not necessarily in order. The first one, can you see all 10? You can probably see the first 3 or 4. Can you scroll down a little bit? Mm-hmm. Are you getting all 10?
No.
You want to scroll down?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, just bring it down. Okay. So now that you've seen all 10, why don't you bring it all the way up to the top? Are we looking at the first 3?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Belief systems. So in sport, we all have to agree that when you, for example, when you see an athlete interviewed after the race or before the race, the commentator or the interviewer is always asking about their confidence level, their frame of mind, how everything's going in their life, and afterwards they're commenting on their will to win or how determined they were. There's some psychological component to the before and the after. So I would say with all the triathlon programs I've observed online and experienced as a consumer, most of them, if not all of them, lack the quantitative specifics about what it takes to be confident, to be successful. If you hear that in the background, that's my son. And so for the first thing is, what I see is the failure among most programs and most athletes. You see faulty belief system. The confidence, confidence is king. So how are you confident? This is what I get into in my programs. What are the components of becoming confident? Honesty with yourself, goal setting, self-esteem, why are you doing the sport, why are you training, how you embrace chaos in your life and stress, what's your diet like, sports science realities. What's your belief system around sports science? A lot of athletes reject the idea that science matters in training. You kind of just go by feel, and it should all work out at the end of the day. But the reality is that there's a mathematical process to everything. So power and speed being the key components of this. How do you measure power? How do you measure speed? And how is that related or quantified in terms of stress? So I have a stress model that I use, and it will tell me exactly how much stress a workout places on your body, and then I start to teach you the physiology behind on how that stress accumulates, what the positive result is, and the symptoms that you feel, what the negative results are as you feel them to be, but how you stay confident in understanding these are the stresses that I should expect and the things that I probably should say, let me take a look at this. This isn't quite normal right now. I need to take a rest, or I need to eat better, I need to sleep more soundly, or whatever, changing your lifestyle. And inclusiveness, like what are the lifestyle issues? Your family, your friends, your peers, your job. How do you integrate that into a successful athletic lifestyle? And these are real important parts of it, because you don't want to avoid or underestimate that when you become very committed to a process like endurance, you've got other people to consider, and what's the effect that this has on other people. It's real important to the success of your job, to the energy that you're going to be able to put into your family, friends, and relationships, so that you don't become so single-minded that you forget about all these other things and your life starts crumbling around you and you don't really know why. So the second thing, copycat. I think a lot of athletes just copy other people. They copy programs that they see in magazines, online, and they think, well, if I do the long ride on this day and the long run on this day and the swim and the speed work, it magically should all work out. Well, how many of you have actually done that and ended up tired, injured, frustrated, and confused about, well, this program doesn't work or that program doesn't work? You can't undermine the process by not having the education. And the coach is supposed to lay out what you should expect to learn and apply, and it's a long-term process. It's not something that you can do just by reading a magazine and applying, unless you're like a super talent in some sport, and then all of a sudden, you just copy and paste and you become a successful runner or triathlete or duathlete or whatever. But not likely to happen. The third, your lifestyle. Where do you live? Well, I spent a decade living in New York City. You would think that lifestyle would be too stressful, and actually it was. But I achieved incredible things, being incredible, disciplined and focused, and I had a very competitive environment around me that motivated me. And my coaching business was growing at the same time my athletic career was improving. But I did spend time outside of the New York environment to better myself as an athlete. I did training camps overseas. So the bottom line is you need to take into consideration your lifestyle. And where you live, your immediate environment in your home, your neighborhood, the peripheral noise, what time you go to sleep, what you eat, what kind of friends you have. These are all very important parts of this success process of just being healthy. But then you add that into the performance element of this Triathlon Academy. If you're trying to perform at a high level, you can't ignore your circumstances. So create that lifestyle that you need. And number 4, coaching. Coaching, believe it or not, people, coaching is a profession. I think there are too many programs on the market that make it seem simple. You go online, you pick a gold program or a silver package, and you copy it. You get that call with your coach once a week, and whammo, you're supposed to be an improving athlete. But how does one feel successful in any program? Number 1, emotionally, you should feel like it's working. It means that your body feels good, your mind feels good, you feel optimistic. That is first and foremost. You have to be happy with the process and like your coach and like the training you're doing. But the second thing is, if you're performance driven, you have to get results. So just because the coaching system feels good at the time doesn't mean that you get results. And the results are a twofold issue. Your responsibility and the coach's expertise and how they lay out a program. So bear in mind that there are some major parts, like components of coaching that everyone should pay attention to when choosing a coach. A program should include a mindset and emotional developmental process. It doesn't have to be super psychologically sound, but you can't ignore the feeling of a component and the confidence component and the expected emotional reactions to short-term failure and missing workouts and all of the other things in life that weigh into the equation. You also have the experience of the coach and the experience of the athlete. You need to know what the athlete wants, likes, values, and needs before you can start to create a program. You also need to have a coach that has proven results, or you're really taking a big chance. The health and lifestyle intake process, everything. That's pre-existing conditions, injuries, complications in your health that occurred when you were younger, and your current health now. And you need an objective way to understand that reality. Like fructose metabolism problems in endurance athletes, gluten intolerances, these are all major players in the way the body responds to stress. And food is stress. So if you're taking in foods that are hurting your body, it's going to hurt your performance. And I've seen this time and time again with athletes avoiding the health intake process because they think, well, I'm fit and I can just work out. But it doesn't work that way. In all seriousness, training is stress. And if I'm a coach placing stress on your body, I must be aware of what could potentially hurt you or harm this process. The other, nutrition and supplementation, your coach should have experience with that and not force it upon you, but tell you what works and what may not work, and it may be some trial and error with you and your diet. My program has a stress model. It uses Apollo race day software. You can look at that online through physfarm.com. And very critical to avoiding injury, peaking, progression, and ultimately results. Clear, there needs to be clarity, emotional sort of security and honesty between the athlete and the coach. So we can't pull any punches. It has to be rapport. You have to like your coach. You want to connect, and the coach has to trust that you're telling the truth and that you're following through. And if you have fears or worries or concerns, they must be expressed. Every athlete has to think long term. You can't go into a coaching program and think, well, I'm just going to improve for this season and get a coach for this season, and then wham, you're going to achieve instant results. Depending on where you're at, what you need, what I've seen across the board is no coaching system can work for one season. You need at least 2 seasons to see real results. And that doesn't mean that other results aren't happening, but the real race performance results, the breakthroughs that you're looking for, it takes more than 1 year. And your coach must have experience with equipment and travel, and of course, understand leadership. Leadership is everything in this business. Having trust, a vision, a pragmatic approach, being planned, being flexible, being focused, having fun. The workout should be challenging. There should be results, real measurable results. And there should be a humility between the athlete. The athlete should have the humility, the coach should have the humility, so that these, in this sport, egos get blown out of proportion, and it's probably one of the more, darker sides of any sport is that when you see these blown out of proportion egos, it's not fun to be around. And you can see it on bike rides and swim workouts, and you see all this, you know what I'm talking about. But there should be a competitiveness within yourself, and a reality that you are up against somebody else when you're racing. So let's not ignore that this, racing is about competition. If that's what you're here to learn from me is racing, we can talk about winning and talk about that mentality and that preparation. And then let's just finish off with the last 5, or the last 6 rather. Can you scroll down a little bit? By and large, triathletes and people are impulsive. You see this? Impulsiveness? You cannot apply a quick fix to any process. Let me just fix this camera. Is that okay? Okay. So, impulsiveness is quite common in this business. Okay? Are we okay here? Are we okay?
Yep.
Are you okay? Can you see them? Can you see these last ones?
Not right now.
Okay, you got it. Okay. Hold on. Let me do it. Yeah, we got it. This is all on the fly, so this is fun. There we go. Let's back up. Yeah, right here. Yes. There we go. Perfecto. Okay. Let me repeat. Class, it's not dismissed. Stay focused. You, I'm talking to you. All right. Impulsiveness. Every athlete out there has this sort of whimsical, I don't say every athlete, but a lot of them have this whimsical sort of approach, this idea that, you know, I've got a short race coming up, I've got an event coming up that, what's happening?
I'm trying to get you.
No, we want to look at this.
Okay.
Okay. That these events are coming up soon, and you think, well, you know, I haven't trained, you know, the last 3 weeks, 6 weeks, or whatever, and then all of a sudden you want to do patchwork, or someone tells you about an event and it doesn't fit into your training because you haven't really planned your schedule, and last minute you just want to jump into the race. Well, there are times when impulsiveness is good, and there are times when it actually sabotages your results. So bear in mind that impulsiveness certainly, dietarily, lifestyle-wise, can sabotage any athlete's success. Solo and group training, I'd probably say there's a lack of it and too much of it. And when I say a lack of it is that it is an individual sport. So there are these very focused workouts, solitary workouts, that are very essential to your psyche and your confidence in what you can do on your own, and to be able to prove that you can concentrate and focus for long periods of time, put out the power, the speed, and have that self-reliance that can only really be realized on your own, so that another person is not holding you back or not overtraining you. But the group scenario is real important because it helps to bring out that competitiveness and the ability to be able to go head-to-head against people, bump up against people, you know, have that feeling and the feeling of camaraderie. You know, there are group rides and swims and runs that are very social, and so you need to understand your personality. You know, if you're a solitary person and you're training too much that way, then I would suggest breaking out of your shell and getting involved in some group training. But then there are the group training athletes that really overdo the group training because it's a mishmash approach, and everybody's moving at their own pace, and you don't really know how to dictate your own pace in the group to get the most out of it. So, hello, little one. Hold on, we're going to take a little pause here. A little pause, we'll come right back.